All righty. So thank you all for coming today. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about what it takes to fill out your application and request those transcripts, and all those other little things that go into an application. Now, while I'm going to walk through some of the stuff with the Amcas application, which is that for MD schools, everything we're saying here is very directly attributable to all the other application services out there. So if you're pre-vet, it's VimCas. If you're pre-opt, it's OptomCas. If you're pre-dent, it's AdSAS. If you're a pre-PA, it's CASPA. Like, insert random name of application service with a CAS in there. CAS for application service. So all of the different application services work in pretty much the same way. In fact, all the other ones outside of Amcas are pretty much all the same program called Liaison. So they're all going to not just look similar, they're going to look the same as each other. So there's just a set of things that they are looking for, and we're going to look at some of those things today. So even if you're not pre-med, this is still helpful because you're going to be looking at all the different things that you're going to have to do in any type of application service. So let's start by signing in. So with any of these, you're going to have to create an account. So when you go into the sign in for your application service, and also remind me or tell me, can you guys see the window with the Amcas in it, AMC in it? All right, cool. And also just feel free to ask questions as we're going along. You don't need to raise your hand, just use your microphone or just pop something in the chat box. I'll keep an eye on it over there. So the first thing you're going to need to do is create an account. If you don't have an account, just create an account here. My guess is for pre-med, you're going to have an account because you need to sign up for the MCAT as well. So that's the same account for your MCAT as for your application. For all of the other services, it's a different account than something you probably already set up. So you'll have to set up your account. I've already done so we're not going to step through that. It's just going to ask you through the basics of setting up an account. What's your name, username, identifying info, et cetera, et cetera. So I already created my username and my password. So boom, there we go. I'm going to jump right into it. And they're all going to look somewhat similar to each other in the sense that they're going to tell you what cycle it's for. So pay very close attention to that. So right now I'm working on which application? (2022) application cycle, and that would be really dumb for me to submit my application to the 2022 cycle because it's a little late. Decisions have already been made for the year, but that's the one that's open currently. And what you'll see is if there's two open concurrently, which there probably won't be, but like there is some risk of two concurrent cycles running on some of those, like SOFIS for public health and CASPA for physician assistant. Every once in a while, you got two overlapping cycles. Pay very close attention to the application cycle or year that you're filling out. Make sure you're filling out the correct one. By the way, they always have a date associated with it. And for those of you doing MD anyway, the MD application opens on May 3rd for the 2023 cycle. So that's one thing you can check in advance is when does your particular application cycle begin? So look at the application system that's appropriate for your future, and then check out what the application cycle opens. That's when you can start entering things and whatnot. So the Amcas opens up on May 3rd this year for entry, and then for submission, I believe it's May 28th. Every application is going to be a little bit different. Like the liaison ones, they don't necessarily have entry and submission deadline or openings, where I think you can submit right when you set up your application for any of the liaison ones, which is basically all the rest. So check out your dates, do all that fun stuff. You can see that I have entered some stuff in here. So it's going to say continue application for this one, but normally it's going to say start your application. So I'm going to continue my application, and then you're going to get to see how old I really am and my AMC ID, so don't steal that. So you can see that I'm from St. Joe, Michigan, and I am was born in '73. All that fun stuff. This is where you edit all those things. You're identifying information, and you're going to have to do that stuff in any application. Now, one of the things that I need to emphasize, if your name on your ID does not match the name on your application, that is a problem. If your name on your ID does not match your name on your application, that will be a problem. So make sure that if you have a hyphenated last name on your ID, that's the name you're using on your application, or vice versa. Or if you've changed your name because you've recently been married or something like that, or whatever reason you changed your name, then make sure it matches on your ID to what you're going to be putting on your application. So that means right now, be thinking about that. Like if you don't have time, honestly, for some of you to be changing your ID right now to make sure it's something you want to have. So you may have to apply without without a, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, you may have to apply with a name that's not your preference. Is the DAT application ADSAS? Well, the DAT application, that's not ADSAS. That's saying I'm going to register for the DAT. ADSAS is how you apply to dental schools. Those are two different things. So the DAT is taking a test. ADSAS is applying to dental school. Does that make sense? And that goes out saying for all the other things too. The test, when you register for the test, that is not registering for or applying to medical school. So you're or to your particular school. So the test is not necessarily associated. The only one that is the MCAT, because AAMC is the MCAT, Amcas is AAMC. Therefore, MCAT is on your Amcas application no matter what. You don't have to submit it. But if you're applying to DO schools or PA schools or dental schools, or other, you have to submit your test to score to your particular application. Yeah. So ADSAS is dental, and you would have to submit your DAT to that one. So this is the classic, just fill in your identifying information, all that fun stuff. Now you can see that I haven't done a lot of the things that they're asking for. So let's visit some of those things. So I'm going to click on schools attended. So let's see, what school did I go to? I went to a school in the United States, and I went to my undergraduate institution in Michigan. And that was in Isabella County. So you would have to actually know the county for the school that you go to. This is pretty much the same for most of these. And oh, this is high school. So actually it wasn't Isabella County. I missed that this is high school. So why do they want to know about high school? Well, they want to know everything about you. So my school was St. Joseph High School. Boy, I do not ever want to go there again. And I graduated in, I hate to admit this, 91, which is before most of you were born. Is that right? I'm betting so. Boy, I feel old. So then they're going to have to answer or enter in our colleges. So that was my high school. And I would suggest saving each step along the way. So as you do things, save your result or save your entries as you go. Don't try to wait until you're done with everything and then save. That's a surefire way to lose a lot of work and effort that you put toward your application. Do they look at high school grades? No. They just want to know, for whatever reasons, probably demographic reasons, which high school you went to. Then I need to add a college. So boom, I'm going to add a college, select country, United States. That was also in Michigan. And then that school was, let's see, Central Michigan University, which has a med school, by the way, and I think a PA school now. Select program type, it was undergraduate. So this is where you would put in your different things. So if I went to a community college, that would be junior college. If I had undergraduate classes, like a normal four-year bachelor's program, that's undergrad. If I did a post-bac program, that's going to be post-bac undergrad. If I did like a master's degree or a PhD, that's going to be graduate level. So you'd have to select that appropriate type. I went to undergraduate there, and I started in the August of 1991, and I graduated in August of 1995. And there we go. Then advisor release. So this is all this stuff that's going to be releases and things like that. Do you authorize Amcas to release your application to school designated advisor? Sure, that's fine. You don't have to answer those. Those questions are kind of irrelevant. Does Amcas require an official transcript from the school? Generally, transcript, yes, it does. So I'm going to have to deal with the transcripts in just a minute. So boom, I just added one of my colleges, and I'm going to save. I can't stress enough to save all the time as you're going through this. And then they're going to want to know degrees, what your majors and minors are, and all that fun stuff. Now, let me say this. Does your major and your minor matter to your school? Is it something that's relevant? No. Again, this is demographic information. I don't care if you're an English major or a STEM major or whatever you are, it doesn't matter to you. It's not going to affect your admission into any of these programs, med school, dental school, any of that stuff. It's all it is demographics information. As long as you get your prereqs done, that's all that matters. All that matters. Now, as far as transcripts go, this is important. Each one of the application services is going to give you a transcript ID. 902-6752 for this one. This number is unique to your account, this particular school. So when you request your official transcript from Davis or any of your other undergraduate institutions, then that's the number you're going to put in that request. So as far as like, I understand that I must have my school submit it. I could create the transfer request form, but that's if I was going to do this in person and like hand over a form to the registrar's office. 9 out of 10 times, most schools are not going to be doing that. You're going to be requesting online. So if I'm going to request my official transcript at Davis, I'm going to go to the registrar's office at registrar.ucdavis.edu/records/transcripts. I'm going to order an official transcript. And if you're a recent graduate, you should be able to use the My UC Davis. If you're not a recent graduate, you'll have to use the CAS Authenticate, which is for an alumni. So actually, if you're a graduate, if you're within a year, you should still be able to use My UC Davis. I've heard some students actually be able to use it for longer than that. But whichever one you pick, that's the whichever situation you're in, that's what you're going to do. I'm going to go through My UC Davis. You guys recognize this at this point, and I got to get out my phone because I got to do this thing. Just approve it. And there we go. It brings me this. Here's my info. There's my student number, all that fun stuff. And then I need to go to academics. And then I'm going to order an official transcript. And it's basically going to take you to a new site, which is more or less a front end for what's called Parchment. So it says credentialsinc.com. This is a company called Parchment. And this is how you would request your transcript. So I want to order a PDF transcript. I'm going to have to enter in all this info. And I can't do this because I don't have a transcript right now. But enter in all your info, hit next, and then it's going to ask you at some point in this request for that number. So if we go back to our application, this number, this transcript ID, I'm going to have to add it into my transcript order. And that way, when the transcripts get sent from Davis or whichever school you're doing this with to the application service, it will put it on your application properly. So this is one of the first things I think everybody should do, is to get these things requested, because it can take a while. Sometimes these transcripts take 3-4 weeks to get processed and sent in. So you don't want that to be a delay to your application. Just get this request done sooner than later, and that way you just have it going. Like that literally is the first thing I would do in every application. When should I request an official transcript? I'm planning to graduate next year, but I'm applying this cycle. You should request an official transcript after the end of the year, so you get the most grades that you can. So you would probably be requesting after grades are turned in on June, whatever it is, like the second week of June. You would request immediately right after that, because you want to get as many grades as you can on there. So that's as far as I can go to show you how to request the transcript, just because I can't order a transcript because I personally don't have one. You can request a transcript for yourself, but you can't request it be connected to your application, because what won't you have yet? You won't have the transfer ID or transcript ID that's specific to this school for this application. It would be for, like, I could do it and have it sent to my 2022 application, but that's not necessarily going to be the right application. It's not going to get to the right place. In fact, it is the exact opposite of always free to request an official transcript, because notice payment, that's the last choice here. It is not free to request official transcripts. It is free to request unofficial transcripts. It is not free to request official transcripts. There's always a fee. And I would also order a couple copies just for yourself for your future, just to make sure you have them, some print ones, not just PDFs. You never know when in your future you're going to need a transcript from college. It's a good idea. I still have 2 of them left over from when I was an undergrad. Yes, that's what's going to happen in one of these later things, like order options. That's what you're going to add, or actually under recipients is where you're going to add that ID number. See how it says recipients there? So you're telling it where to send it. We have to request as soon as the app opens. I don't think you don't have to request as soon as the app opens, but it's a good idea to do it, because like I said, it takes a while sometimes for these transcripts to get processed and shipped over. And you need to request a transcript for each and every school you attended. Every single one. So if you only took one class at community college, you need a transcript from that community college. You took a class at another community college, just one, you're going to do that for that one too. Every single school you need a transcript from. If you're taking a class in the summer, is it okay if you don't request the transcript? I would not request the transcript late. If you're taking a class in the summer, you need to show that it's in progress if it's a prereq. If it's not a prereq, don't worry about putting it on your application. Because if it's not going to affect your application getting approved or not approved, there's no reason to wait for that transcript. If you wait until the end of the summer to apply a transcript to your application, it's not going out to schools until it's complete. So therefore, you would be delaying your application for no good reason. The question that was just asked, is this final quarter? Should we wait until the transcript until after June? It really depends. Do you need those grades to make your case to get into med school or vet school or whatever? Or are your grades just fine before then? If your grades are just fine before then you should be able to just skip having those last spring quarter classes in there. Can we use unofficial transcript to fill out? I would not use an unofficial transcript to fill out the transcript section. Unofficial transcripts generally have some weirdnesses to them, although at Davis it's finally better, but you should actually have an official transcript copy to enter your own information in there. So I would request one for yourself, as well as one to be directed to the application itself. Because if something does not match on your transcript, it can delay your application. You don't want that to be happening. So to be clear, we should order a transcript for summer classes, even though those have not started. Yes, you should, because there's an option in the request to show. I think it was in here. No, where is it? I think it's in the order options where you'll see it say show classes in progress. So it'll show you the classes that are in progress, and that's what you want to show them, is that this class is currently in progress and it is going to be completed before long. So yes, if you're registered for something and you want to show that as in progress in your application, go ahead and order the transcript. Yes. So we need a transcript from every college, even if the class we took there isn't a prereq. Yes, you do. You need a transcript for every college showing every single class that will go into your GPA, which is going to be all of them. Yeah, you're going to have order options for all of those. Parchment is pretty much a universal. You're going to see almost everybody uses Parchment. So it's almost always going to be the same, and you can always request the in progress courses. There's another one out there, and I can't remember what it's called, but it also does the in progress, that you can request them in progress. I knew there was going to be a lot of questions on that, so that's good. All right, so back here, you'd now ask the question, have you matriculated at another school? Yes or no, yes or no. You need to admit to it if you actually matriculated another school. They want to know why you started another school and then dropped out. And that's another med school in this case, or another dental school, another vet school. That will probably hurt your chances of getting in, because they would be a little bit suspect of like why you got in the program and then quit out of the program. And then institutional action, this is if you basically if you got caught cheating or something like that, then you have to explain why. And just be honest, this stuff will come up and it will be found out. So just make sure you're answering these questions honestly. Questions so far on the schools attended? All right, biographic information. What do I still have to finish here? Oh, crap. What is it saying I'm missing? Save, going to biographic information. Oh, yeah. Thank you. My degree. Oh, I just said no, I didn't get a degree. Bachelor of Science, and I did that in 08, 1995. Add my major. Chemistry. Add a major. This is going to tick some of you guys off. Physics. And add a major. Biology. And a minor of mathematics. Yeah, I'm a nerd. So yeah, that's what I did as an undergrad. And then I went to grad school in chemistry. So there we go. And that should be good. Save and continue. Yay, that was right. So then this is like all this other stuff I've got to do. Preferred address, permanent address, alternate contact, citizenship, blah, 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 blah. And so a couple of the notable things in here are going to be, well, let me just put this in here real quick. Thank God I have all this stuff in there already. Day phone is just my cell phone. And there we go. And copy from preferred address is my permanent address. The one thing I'll say for permanent address, if you're worried about citizenship stuff, like in a state, like residency stuff in a state, if you're worried about losing your residency in California, just call your parents' home your permanent address. That way it's just easier to deal with. You have all the stuff being mailed to them. It's like your regularly scheduled physical address. So that is a way to avoid some of the moving around stuff and residency issues. All right, then alternate contact, no. Citizenship, yes. Legal residency, I have a state of residency, which is California. Boom. Select the county. I don't know why we have to select county all the time, but we do. And then you can select these if you choose of your self-identification. Again, that's just demographics, languages they need to do. I have to add English because it's one of those things they want to make sure you can speak English going to an American medical school or something like that. Proficiency, I would say that I'm native, and it was always used in my home. Boom. And then add all your languages that are in there. That's actually something in your feather in your cap. Then location, St. Joseph, Michigan, Barian. Slip description, it was suburb, I guess rural-ish. I guess I grew up in a rural town. I don't know. Do I believe, and these are some of the important questions for getting your different, getting qualified for different things potentially. Do you believe this area was medically underserved? No, it was not. We had a hospital local to the area. Have you or members of your immediate federal use federal state assistance programs? We did when I was a kid. Select my income level in that time. The income level at that time for me was this, because that's before inflation. So this would be a little weird for you guys. It's probably a little different. Did you have paid employment? Yes, I had a job. Were you required the overall? No, I did not. And blah, blah, blah. Pell Grant, no. How many people lived in the house? There was 3. And then this stuff is all like not required. So again, it's now optional. Then we got military service. No, no. If I did have military service, put it here. Did I get discharged from the military? Yes, explain why. Or no, I did not. Have I had any felonies? No. That one is a non-negotiable. Basically, if you had a felony, you need to say yes here, because that will definitely come out in a background check, as will misdemeanors. I have had a misdemeanor, blah, 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 blah. This is what my misdemeanor was all about. Disadvantage status. This is always a tricky one for people to decide on, but again, this is like this for almost all the applications. Disadvantage status is if you were in a place where you grew up that was like either medically underserved, or your family was on food stamps, or your schools were very poor quality. Those are things that go into disadvantaged. How do I know if I should be considered disadvantaged? You can always read that. I would say that I was not. Yeah, I would say I was not. Do you need to put parents and guardians on here? No, you don't, because you're an adult at this point. So you can always put, I've indicated that I'm unable to provide parent and guardian information. I don't need to put my siblings on there. And I have 0 dependents for myself. So save and continue. Oh, oops, self-identification. Is it going to make me say prefer not to say? Nah, I was going to coursework. Okay, so coursework is where now this takes a little bit of work. And sometimes you're just going to have to guess. So in my academic career, in my first year in college, let's say I did my first semester, because it was a semester-based school. My year was freshman. You have to select what year in school it was. Plus, you also have options for post-bac or graduates. And so that would all fall under that year of school. And hang on, I'll get your question in just a moment. Then for us, it was Chem 100, or no, 141, I think it was. And the course name was General Chemistry 1 with Lab. And this would be exactly what it says on your official transcript. You need to match these words, these codes perfectly with your transcript. Otherwise, it's going to trigger and they're going to send it back to you saying you need to fix something. So very important that you type these exactly as they show. If it only says General CAG or Chem on your transcript, then that's what you would write. Write it exactly the way it appears. And then select course classification. Just select the closest thing that matches. You might not find something that matches perfectly. So this is just a chemistry course. That one's easy peasy. But if it was like an English course, I might choose English language and literature, or fine arts if it was music, or foreign language, whatever it is, pick the closest thing. And if you don't know, pick other. If you have no idea what to classify it as, pick other. It was 4 credit hours, and the grade I got was a transcript grade of A. And then save and add another, and so on and so forth. I would need to input each and every class on there that way. So save. Why is it not saving? Oh, it was combined lecture and lab. There we go. I missed a few things down there. Special course types, blah, 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 blah. Military credit, pass, fails, what I drew. All that stuff is things that you would need to do. And then current future is for stuff that is still in progress. So there we go, save. That one should add. There we go. And we got to do that with every single class, including the ones you had replaced with a repeat delete. So let's say you got a D in a class and you took it again, then on Davis's unofficial transcript, it shows as it got deleted. And the Davis says your GPA has it without it being there. But on your application, you need to include that grade as a full grade. It will be included in your undergraduate GPA calculation for the applications. Okay, so can you speak a little more about noting your SES and numbers growing up? So are you talking about the socioeconomic status? What kind of questions are you wanting me to answer there?
Sorry, it's easier to talk because I'm holding an infant than type. Yeah, like socioeconomic status, and I'm confused on how to denote that because I grew up low SES, but it's, you know, we weren't born, you and I, too many years apart. So I'm in a totally different situation now, and I just am not sure about how to, like, if I should note that from when I was younger, or
I would just do it as like, because they're asking specifically when you were young.
Okay.
Because from birth to age 18, that's what they want to know.
Okay. Okay, great. Sorry, I didn't see that detail.
No, that's all right. So they're asking about when you're young, basically.
Okay. Okay, that's great. That helps a lot. Appreciate it.
Sure. Can I put my biology research as biology? Well, biology research is probably, I would call it special studies, and it's because it's not biology class. So you're not getting credit for taking an academic course in biology. You're getting credit if you have credit for it for research. So that'd be either, I think, what is that one? Do we have an option for research in here? I can't remember. And it depends on the application, by the way. Let's edit that one. Because different applications have different categories. I would either put that as special studies or other. Special studies or other. You got a letter grade in your biology research, then in that case, I would put it still as special studies. I think if it's for undergraduate or for UCI, I think that would still be a special studies class, not technically a biology class according to the AAMC. But that's where you might actually have to inquire on very specific things like that with the Amcas themselves to find out how they would want you to classify it. So sometimes it's going to require asking a very one-off question like that. And that's okay. Do you classify student-run clinics as other? And I'm unsure about lecture lab part for this as well. So student-run clinic as other, essentially it's the same idea as research. It's not really credit for an academic class. It's credit for something else. In the case of if it was biology research, you got a GPA and an actual letter grade, then that's when I would inquire specifically. But for the most part, student-run clinics is pass-fail, you credit, right? Yeah, so it's not really going to be, or pass, no pass, whatever they call it here. It's not going to be something that's going to be contributing to your GPA. So it really doesn't matter if you list it as other or special studies. Veteran research is part of coursework. Oh, and wait, there was another part of that question. I'm unsure about lecture lab. I'm unsure about lecture lab part for this as well. I'm not sure about, are you talking about student-run clinic as far as that question is concerned? Student-run clinic is just going to be, I would just say it's a lecture class. It doesn't have a lab associated with it. Because the name of the class would have to say with lab in it for it to be a lecture lab combo. If you entered research as part of coursework because you got units for it, then you can still list it in the activity section. Yes, you can, because it's not counting towards your GPA. What about research for pass, no pass? Does pass, no pass? No, pass, no pass. No pass, no passes will contribute to GPA at all. Let's see. Transcripts have a section for AP classes to include these too. Yes, but I will say for most of these programs, AP classes are not going to count, but you can actually list them as AP if you got units at Davis for this. I would read the Amcas applicant guide specifically, or the application guide for your specific application to see how they treat advanced placement classes. Because again, different schools are going to treat them differently. Like different programs are going to treat them differently. Med schools don't give you credit for advanced placement. So you need to take a regular class to get prerequisite credit for those. For tutoring, I also got a letter grade for that. Does that also count towards GPA? That'll count towards your overall GPA, but I would say that that's probably still for tutoring. I would still call that probably other or special studies. Pass, no pass cannot count for science GPA. It can't. It's pass, no pass. There's no letter grade to associate with it, so therefore it cannot count towards your GPA. All right, we need to move on a little bit, so keep those questions coming, but we'll move on to work and activities. So work and activities, this is something that's in common with all of the applications as well. Here's where you get to enter all your experiences, and if you haven't already done so, I would start tallying this up. Give it a type of experience, experience name, look for the types of experience that you have for your particular application. They are not the same from application to application. Give it a name. I'm gonna say artistic endeavors, and I'm in a band, the Foothills Jazz Band. And the date it started, the date it ended, the total hours, the years that you did it, from what year to what year. Did you continue to do it? What organization? And then a description. For some of the applications, you get to write what's called most meaningful or most important or something like that. Not all applications have that, but if I do most meaningful, it's going to have me write a secondary essay for it, where it's going to just go into more detail about that particular experience. Most of these experiences are going to be about 3 to 4 sentences, unless you have one that says it's most meaningful, where you can write more about it. But that was a topic. That's a topic for another one of these sessions. So for now, I'm just going to leave that blank so I can go into letters of evaluation. Yes, they seriously want hours for something you've done for many years. You just have to do your best guess. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just estimate how many hours a week you spent doing something, multiply by the number of weeks you did it over the span of multiple years, and there you go. That's all you need to do. So yes, it's the hour. They're not checking any of this stuff. They're not going to go in there and go like, oh, this person is like sort of really ridiculous kind of number of hours. I mean, add up to, what do you mean? I assume the weekly hours of all your stuff needs to add up. As in, it should not add, well, yeah, you should never be listing more than 168 hours in a week, probably less than that, because you're gonna have to spend some time sleeping. But yeah, if it's beating out more than 40 hours a week, that's a little bit crazy, because at some point you're gonna have to sleep. But like, until it starts getting ridiculous like that, I don't think anybody's gonna notice anything weird. I wouldn't worry about that too much. Letters of evaluation. I would also get these requested quickly, and now different applications require different letters and require different types of letters, different numbers and different types. That one refer to each and every letter. But what you want to do quickly, again, much like getting your transcripts requested, you want to get your letter of evaluation requested pretty quickly. So you add a recommender, and you're going to say it's a letter, individual letter. Davis does not do letter packets or committee letters, so you're just going to be requesting individual letters here. You're going to type in the title. So this is my bio prof letter or something like that. Is it associated with the school? Yes, because it's like maybe a faculty member at my school. Then all this fun stuff, like who the person is, what their title is, what their contact information is, and their email address. Pick a current email address, because when you save this, that is where this request is going to be sent. Every time you add an evaluator, that will trigger an email to that evaluator asking that evaluator to submit a letter of recommendation, or in this case, a letter of evaluation to the application. So you need to refer to, like, you got to make sure you got a current email address. Otherwise, and honestly, ask your recommenders for what's the best email address to use. They might surprise you. Is the title letter seen by Amcas? Is that for us internally? Keep your letters organized. That is likely also seen by Amcas. This is, I think, the letter title, the only one. Amcas is the only one that does the title. I wouldn't worry so much about it, although I would definitely say don't put silly names in there. Don't put really bad things in there. What would you do differently if I'm using Interfolio? Really nothing too much different, because I would just say, I would just do the individual letter, and I would set this person up the same way, and I would just end up triggering from Interfolio into my application. So Interfolio only, by the way, works for Amcas, ACOMAs, and ADSAS. So the rest of you guys can't use Interfolio, but you would request the same way, basically. You're requesting a letter from a supervisor for a campus job. Would they still be considered associated with the school, or is that just for professors? I mean, if they are associated with the university, they are associated with the university. So that's really up to how you want to list them. I would say they're definitely associated with the university. That just makes them that more pops a little bit more. Once you save the evaluation request, can you go back and change it at all? Like the process side, yes, you can change stuff. I believe there's actually a question here. Where was it? Back, cancel. It was in here. Where did I see it? Ah, crap. I think I have to fully request the letter. Once you get it in there, you can actually go back and edit the information should it become necessary to do that. Yes, I will say that. So if that's the case, if they decide they want to go with a different email address, that is something you can effectively change after the fact. I just can't change it from this screen without entering a full request in for it. You have to have it all fully added in there. I would use their professional address unless they have no professional address. So don't be putting personal information in here for your evaluators. That would not be copacetic. All right. Then the medical schools, this is where you would choose, and like this is where you choose any of your schools. This is where you would enter your school list. Then, and looking at the time, just want to make sure we hit on essays. So every application is going to have a personal statement. So this is where you'd write your personal statement. Some pointers on that. Do not type it directly into this box. Edit it somewhere else, like Google Docs or Word or whatever it is. Get it edited up to its final incarnation. Then do not copy it right from Google Docs into here. You should open up something like Notepad. Which, do they make Notepad anymore? Oh, what? Is Notepad not a thing? Somebody help me on a Windows machine. What do they call Notepad now? Oh my gosh. Really? Yeah, should be Notepad. Okay, it's still there. It's just not on my menu. So open up Notepad. I don't know why it wasn't showing up. Paste in your stuff into this into the text editor that is Notepad, then copy and paste it from Notepad. The reason to do this is things like Word and Google Drive add all kinds of secret characters to it for formatting purposes. So you might actually have extra characters being pasted in there that you're not aware of because you just post it straight from Word or Google Drive. What this will do, putting it in a Notepad or something like a basic text editor first, will strip all of those phantom characters and just give you the basic text. Then copy it from here into the box for these essays. The same actually goes for your work and activities. Do the exact same thing for your works and activities. Put into a text editor first to strip all those phantom characters and then paste it in. That way you don't have any weird things going like, I don't know why my program told me it was only this many characters, and now it's saying that I'm over my limit. So that's just one of those little things that'll help make your life a lot happier. Paste it into a text editor first, then paste it into your essay. Now, for almost all of the other applications, you're going to have secondary essay comments or essays to write at this initial application stage. Amcas is one of those very few where you're going to start getting secondaries after the fact. But for dental school, you got some secondary essays to write right away. For vet school, you got some secondary essays to write right away. So you're going to have to write some additional essays for those particular applications. Same thing applies. Write it, edit it somewhere else, copy and paste to a text editor, copy and paste from the text editor into the application, and it will save you a lot of headaches, a ton of headaches. And then finally, standardized tests, which I think it's hilarious that you have to actually enter your MCAT into Amcas because they know when your MCAT's there. They know it's Amcas, it's AMC, it's the same, but you still have to tell them, okay, here's my date. I took my date test on September 26, 2021. That's all you need to do for this one for your MCAT. You don't need to do anything else. It'll pull that date, that score report from that date along with all your other score reports, because all your scores will show up on your score report. The same for any additional tests. So for each of your different applications, they may require a test or not. It just depends on the school. It depends on what their expectation is. So there we go. And I think it's hilarious also that somehow this person got a 600 on their GRE. Does that make anybody else go funny? Anybody recognize that? It's very weird because you can't get a 600 on a GRE. I think this is so hilarious. But whatever. They got an error in their application. They always have. I don't know why that happens. What if you submit your app before retaking your MCAT, then just select that later MCAT date? So I'm going to be taking it on June 30th, 2020. I would put that one in there. You can't go all the way down to September, and I don't know why. And if it's past that, just put in the one that's most appropriate up until that point. And then if you have any other test scores, doesn't hurt to add them. You don't have to, all that fun stuff. Let's say, what do they want me to do? Save. There we go. So there's our application. That's all the parts, pretty much to every single application. The only thing I couldn't show you is secondary essays. Secondary essays will come up for certain schools that you choose, not from medical schools, but from other schools. Medical schools send their secondary applications after they receive your primary application. Most of the other ones are going to have some secondaries up front. And there you go. So that was the application in 50 minutes or less. What kind of questions you got? I can take questions for about 5-ish minutes. I mean, I think that's fine. Although with brand new emails, if you're just setting up an email just for that application, you may be losing a lot of stuff to spam. Like brand new email addresses are a lot more aggressive with spam. But I don't think it matters either way. As long as you know to check your spam filter for stuff regularly, you should be fine. Or at least turn off that feature. And this is a loaded question. So for description of activities, should you focus on what you get out of the activity? Yes, I believe yes, it should be about what your takeaway from the experience is. I always tell students to think about what adjectives do you want them to know about you though from it. You want to basically have your experience illustrate some kind of feature about yourself, and make sure each one of those activities illustrates a different feature about yourself. There's some discussion on like, what way should you do it? Should it show your list of your activities that you did during that activity? Like, what did you do? Or should it be what you took away from it? I personally veer towards more of what your takeaways from it. What did you learn about the world, yourself, other people from it, rather than just listing things? Because like, to be honest, if I'm going to do an experience like that, most schools don't really care what you know about medicine or dentistry or whatever, because they're just going to teach it to you in that school. They care more about what your takeaway was. So that's my 2 cents on that particular question. Random question: was too late to apply to med school, DO and MD? Is July too late? No. I mean, as long as it's the beginning of July, I think you're still in the realm of compatibility with people for MD and DO. When should we ask letter writers send in their letters? Should we wait until we actually submit the app, or can they send them in as we work on it? Well, you have to have been able to set up the application But if you submit your app, it will still get processed before your letters arrive on it. So it's okay to, if they're a little bit late coming in, but I would actually encourage you to get them to send them in as soon as possible, because knowing full well, many of those writers are going to be late. So just plan on them being late. Advice how to narrow your activity experiences to 15. So 15 is only a number for Amcas, by the way. Other application services have other limits. But how do you narrow them to that? I mean, if you've got more than 15 things to list, just start combining things together. It's related things together. Don't throw anything in the trash bin on that, or use some of those experiences to write your personal statement, so you don't have to write them in the experiences as well. I mean, it's all about crafting your overall message. Casper Preview, you can take those after you submit for Amcas, yes. Other schools will have also used the Casper test, not the preview. So if you have to take Casper, that can be done after you submit your application. It does not have to be done before. Although it has to be done before the deadline of the school that says you need it. So pay attention to the deadlines that need the Casper or the preview test. If they want you to have it in by August 1st, then you need to have it done by August 1st. So do pay attention to that. All righty, we've hit that time, 5:01. So any one last question I can answer, or are we good to go? I would say that you will find the recording where we find all the rest of these app prep recordings, and I would say I don't know currently. I would email Karen Draper to find that out, because I don't know where they're all going. She's the one managing the recordings on this. I think they're linked directly from the HBF website, or they're at least going to be on our YouTube page.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
For transcriptions, do we want to request a PDF or the other option?
If you want it to go electronically, you need the PDF.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, if you request a non-PDF, it's going to go in the mail and it's going to take forever. All righty. Well, with that, let's call it a day, everybody. Boom. Thank you all for coming, and let us know if you ever have any questions. We got drop-ins all the time, and we can answer your specific questions there.